Hey everyone, this is Reno, and welcome back to my tiny kitchen, my very tiny kitchen. A few weeks ago, I posted a pasta dish on Facebook. It was a lemon lavender ravioli with black garlic Alfredo sauce, and I changed the recipe a little bit from the original because the original was the lemon lavender in the sauce, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to try something different, so I infused the lemon and the lavender in the pasta dough so you would taste it on levels as you're eating it. And that's kind of like how I like to present my dinners. So I'm gonna I'm gonna go ahead and do that same recipe again, lacking the lavender because that was very time consuming. I'm just gonna use the lemon infusion on the pasta dough, but I'm going to show you how that goes down. So let's get to it. Okay, so here we have our ingredients. It's very simple. 3 to 4 cups of flour. I have 3 in here right now. I'm probably not even going to use it all for the dough, but all of the flour will get used. You're going to see what I'm talking about. Got about a tablespoon and a half of fresh lemon zest. Fresh from some lemons. Make sure you wash them off. Get that oil off of them because it's very bitter. So if you rinse the lemon off, you're going to get all that bitter oil taste off of there. 3 eggs, sea salt. And this is our utensil for mixing. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way like my grandmother used to. Because if you're not sweating, you're not making pasta. I could easily throw all of this stuff in my KitchenAid, put my dough hook on there, and knock this out in about 10-15 minutes, but there's no fun in that. So this is how it works. Just dump the flour straight into the center. Make yourself a well. You want to make sure that it's deep because you're going to pour your egg right in here and you don't want the egg to spill over the side walls of your flour pile. So let's get these 3 eggs prepped and I'll be right back. All right, now I got my eggs all beat. I put my lemon zest in there. The lemon zest has been sitting in there for, I don't know, say probably about 5 minutes. Give it a chance to get nice and soaked up into that egg because what you want is you want to flavor the whole egg mixture instead of just a little handful of the more you can spread the flavor and the easier the better. So now, the last time I made this, you could just barely pick up the lemon and I wanted to make sure you can hit it a little bit easier and a little bit harder on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a little more zest straight into the flour. Now here comes the cool part. This is no machinery, this is all by hand. Pour your egg in. Take your fork. Before you do that though, get your sea salt. Oops, a little too much. You're just going to take the salt right around the walls. A little bit in the egg. Now, take your fork. Slowly incorporate your flour. Just a little bit at a time. Takes patience. And then right when it starts to become doughy, You're gonna abandon the fork and just go by hand. We're just about there. All right. Woo! That's definitely enough lemon now. Smells amazing. Okay, so take a little bit of flour, cover your hands a little bit, keeps your hands from getting too sticky too quickly. And you're just gonna toss it. I'm going to add just a little more oil. It's about a tablespoon. I don't want it to get too dry too fast. You have to allow the pasta dough enough time to get a gluten buildup. Now we're starting to get pasta dough. Okay. I don't like to waste any potential dough, so what I do when I get to this point, because you'll have a lot of leftover scatter, is I get myself a strainer or a basket, plop this in here. Now that's all dough. That's all natural flour. And if you think your dough might have gotten a little too dry, that's also easy to fix. But I think we're all right here. We're gonna go ahead and wet this just a little bit. Just go over to the sink, wet your hands. If it's still a little too dry, you can rub your hands in olive oil. But you're going to be doing this for a pretty long time if you're going to do it by hand like this. It takes patience, it takes muscle. You'll know when you have the proper gluten buildup too, because the dough will stop looking dry. It'll start looking rubbery and smooth. Okay. Now once you get those gluten starting up and your dough is actually able to hold shape, you want to knead, fold, knead, fold, half turn, knead, fold. And just keep doing that. There. You have a perfectly kneaded ball of pasta dough. Now this is really stiff, and that's always going to happen with handmade pasta dough. What you need to do is you need to get some saran wrap. Get yourself some saran wrap, set it in the middle. A little bit more oil on the hands, not too much. This will also help the saran wrap keep the pasta dough airtight. And now you want that to set in the fridge for about a half hour. And then we're gonna come back, cut it, I'll bust out the pasta maker, and we'll start rolling out some sheets. Okay guys, our pasta dough is rested for about 45 minutes. Actually, it was about an hour and 45 minutes, sorry. But yeah, it's nice and workable now. Still pretty moist, which is good. All right. So let's get this shaped up so we can start cutting for our roller. Kind of like a bread loaf. That's what you're looking for. Just kind of like a bread loaf shape. Okay, now we're going to take a slice off about that big. Just gonna flatten it out as much as you can. Now here's that leftover powder from when we made our dough. Just want to coat both sides so it doesn't stick to the rollers. Now this particular pasta machine has a setting knob right here. I already have it set all the way over to the widest setting, which is where you want to start. That's about a 9. And then it works its way all the way down to 1 or 0, which is where I'm going to end up. Okay. Perfect. You want to try and do about 2 settings on every pass, or 2 passes on every setting. Now we're going to turn it in one. Ooh. Sometimes they're hard to turn. There we go. Let's try and help shape this out a little bit. Handmade pasta definitely takes time and patience. Last one. And that is a pretty nice sheet. Nice and thin, just how you want it. So we're gonna blanket fold this guy. Just in case. Don't want anything to stick. Set him off to the side. Get another one ready. Let me do this for a bit and we'll be back. Okay, now I got my sheets rolled out. So now we're going to do a couple of sheets for a cutting demonstration, and then I'm going to pause, catch up, and go from there. Once again, flour in the machine. This should be dry enough. You really shouldn't need to flour it again. But this is a little long, so we're going to cut it down to more manageable length. And you have a perfect, almost like lasagna sheet. And then you're just gonna put it right through the cut rollers. Oops. There you go. Take our cookie sheet. Just set it on the cookie sheet, wrap it down in a circle. Next group.
Go take some soup. Did you throw away the soup, by the way?
It's gone, babe.
What did you do with it? Is there a way?
Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, now we got our pasta noodles all cut. They're in the little piles. I got them on a cookie sheet. They're gonna go in the freezer while I get this Tuscan chicken ready. Okay, now it's time for us to make our Tuscan chicken. So what we got here is 1 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream, 2 tablespoons of capers, 1/4 cup of chopped sun-dried tomatoes, some smoked paprika, and I got 4 chicken tenders. I chose the chicken tenders because of the texture, because that they are tender, and because of the plating. So, and 2 cloves of garlic. Got my water already heating for the pasta because the chicken isn't going to take that long. Warm up the pan for the chicken. Oh, and I got a few ounces of spinach, fresh spinach. You want this pan to just start smoking before you put your olive oil in there, which is what it's doing right now. Drop your olive oil in. Skin your garlic. Use the garlic press. It's all right if your garlic browns. Doesn't mean it's burnt. Back on the heat. Drop first piece of chicken. Second. Third. Fourth. Now while that's doing its thing, let's get this spinach ready. Now as soon as that chicken really starts to brown, I'm going to put the capers in and the sun-dried tomatoes. And we're just about there. Capers. Sun-dried tomatoes. And 1/2 teaspoon smoked paprika. A little bit of wine. Now before you add anything else like the spinach and the heavy whipping cream, you want to let that wine cook down a little bit, or else you're going to do something called cooking raw wine, or serving raw wine, and it'll just have a really, really heavy alcohol flavor to it. You want to try and avoid that. Spinach. Now that looks like a lot of spinach, but as it cooks, it's going to cook down and it's going to shrink, get thinner. I always wait till the end to salt. You don't have to do that. You can salt your chicken before you even throw it in the pan. You see how much that spinach cooked down? Barely even visible. So, There goes the rest. Let that spinach cook down a bit. We're going to add a heavy whipping cream. There's that beautiful orangish red Tuscan chicken sauce. Let some of the moisture boil away in here. We're going to cook it down a little bit, thicken it up. And since the pasta's fresh, that's going to take no time at all. I mean, you're probably looking at 2-3 minutes tops and out of the water because it was just made. Look at that. All right, let this cook down a little bit. As soon as it gets a little bit closer, I'll throw the noodles in the water and we'll be ready to plate. All right, everybody. Our pasta water's over here boiling. I wish I could fit it more in my screen, but because of, I mean, it's called My Tiny Kitchen for a reason. But pasta water's going. So it's time to pull this out of the freezer. And just start dropping these piles one at a time. And like I said, minutes. Not even gonna pause. Well, that's kind of not good, but I'm also glad it happened so I could show you. A common mistake that home chefs, home cooks will make is that when they take something cold, like I just did out of the freezer, and put it in water, you should really do it a little bit at a time so you don't cool that boiling water down too fast, which is what I kind of did. But in terms of pasta, you really don't have that choice, because if you put too much time in between your bundles going into the water, then you're going to have unevenly cooked pasta. Perfect. Now here's the critical part. Off the heat. As you can hear from all those sound effects, I got some cleanup to do after this. Now I'm not going to rinse this because I want that starch. I am going to drain it. There you go. Homemade lemon infused pasta. I'm going to plate up. Just get yourself a nice little bunch. Hold it directly over the plate. Drop it. Twist. And pull up. Yourself a tender. Spoonful of sauce. Tuscan chicken with homemade lemon infused pasta noodles. So, hope you guys like. I'll put a recipe down in the description below. Have a nice time. See you next time.